Next up, we have the foundation of the circular economy that relies on 360 data traceability. And for that, I'm going to like to introduce Anthony CMS, CEO and founder of Codit. Anthony, the stage is yours.
Hi everyone, can everyone hear me? Perfect. So I'll be plugging in my presentation. Yes, so as Gabriela just mentioned, I'm indeed the CEO and founder of Codit. And Codit is a 360 degrees data traceability platform. Well, I can tell you all about it, but that's not why I'm here. I want to give you more insights about the foundation of the circular economy, which is relying on 360 degrees traceability, data traceability. But before I go more in depth, I want to take you through some thinking that we as a company have, and me personally, and how we came up with the idea that 360 data traceability is so important. Just some intellectual life cycle thoughts, I call it. And actually, if you look at it as a human being, you come up with ideas. These ideas bring you to action. And as maybe most of you know, the reality between the theoretical idea and the practical experience is most of the time is very different from each other. So we learn by experience as well. And if you look at this cycle, you will see that we are constantly learning to improve by the theoretical side, obviously, but then also the action and the experience that we got out of it. And if we look at products or our consumption behavior, it goes slightly different, at least in the last few decades. See, the thing is, with products, we just buy the products just eventually to throw it away. I'm talking about electronics or even fashion items. So if we talk about these products, then it's such a crazy idea that we throw it away because it's been made from resources that are coming from our planets. And if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. At least to me, it doesn't make sense. So that's why we are, with the information, in this information period that we live in, we find out that actually the linear product life cycle it doesn't make sense. And that's why the European Union and such are like pushing us to go to a circular way of thinking. So instead of going from take, make, and dispose, going to a situation where we make, use, and can recycle. I don't know if everyone is aware, but is anyone familiar with the European Green Deal? Great. So the European Union has come up with a big ambition. They say by 2050, we want to reach net zero as a continent. Well, that's a big ambition. Because how do we get there? And where are we right now? What is the actual emission that we are, CO2 emission that we are now pushing? And so it's really like very big ambition. So, but this ambition comes with a set of new regulations. And I want to take you through these new regulations that are coming up. One of them is by next year, which is the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive. Basically, the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive says that companies should be able to report their sustainable methods, their sustainable work, and how they constantly improving on this. And this is only one of the new regulations coming up. There will be a lot more, as you can see. The digital product passport, meaning every product that is produced in Europe, sold, or even stored, imported, or being exported needs to have a digital product passport. So an amount of data that sits on this product passport that shows that this product is made with a conscious, in a conscious way, and then at the same time is complying to these new sustainable regulations. Well, an extended producer responsibility. So we cannot just make products. We should already, from the beginning, once we start making these products, already think about if it will be recyclable on the end. And not only the product itself, we should also think about the packaging, other materials that we're using to present these products. And as you can see, there are a bunch of new regulations, such as also the Waste Framework Directive, which is basically saying that the waste that we are creating, it has an asset, it has a value, but what can we do with that waste? Some of the waste we can use as biocompost, some of the waste we can use for new products, whatever. And all of these data, because in all of these regulations, there sits a lot of data. And this data should be all of these data should all be gathered, sorted, and made available so that we can work towards a situation that we can make it transparently available and visually available, so we can learn. So when I was talking about the earlier slide of the intellectual life cycle, we should constantly learn. And in the last few decades, we haven't really seen the damage until the damage was already done. And now we're seeing the damage that is created from this waste and garbage that we've created. We finally see that, oh wait, we have to go to another model, the circular economy model. So basically what we did is we created a solution to ensure that this is possible. Because if you're talking about data, you're also talking about data management, securing the data, ensuring that the data is reliable, and understand also the data life cycle. Because where was the first time that the data input started, and what was the journey of that data, who adjusted parts of it, etc., etc. So data management will be very important. But what's also very important is consolidation. You should imagine that a company, in many cases, has 5, 10, sometimes even 100 systems in place. I even heard one large corporate having 1,000 systems in place. Well, all of these systems don't communicate with each other. So meaning there is a lot of data, but this data is scattered throughout the organization. So it's not really usable at that moment. So it gets really important to consolidate those data in an environment where it's all together and you can make the relation between, for example, production and storage, between the sales cycle and the actual production again. So there are lots of relations in between. So consolidation becomes very important. Once you start consolidating, it's also very interesting to visualize the data. So, because data on itself, a lot of metrics and a lot of things, we don't really understand what it's saying there. So, if we can visualize it by creating tracking and tracing components, if you put AI on top of it, which can really make the conclusions, etc., then it becomes very interesting. Once we start doing that, and again, back to the first slide of the intellectual life cycle, we see that we should learn, keep on learning from best practices. So it gets time to interconnect the data with other systems and being able to share the data. Because once we start sharing, we can start learning from best practices that are already out there. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. So basically, when we're looking at just a generic company, it comes with 3 key points that we need to focus on. The very first one is sustainability, because we are in this situation with a lot of things about climate change, a lot of waste being thrown in the sea, and all of these things that are happening. Sustainability is a number one thing that we should consider in building our companies. We should be ESG proof. We should have visibility on what we're doing, how we create those companies, who were involved in creating these companies, what materials did we use, what machines were involved, what systems did we use, were the people that were making the products being treated fairly, were they paid fairly? Because sustainability is not only about our natural environment, it's also about us humans. Are we treating other humans from other continents in the right way? Are they paid fairly? Are we enable them to grow their economics? These are also very important things. And all of this comes with, as I mentioned, a set of new regulations. Then secondly, data traceability. Because it's nice that we work on the sustainable ideas, but for most companies, it would say, but I'm a commercial company, what's in it for me? Well, data ownership, that's the next step. Once you start consolidating the data, we can talk about monetizing the data, having ownership of that data. Then it becomes very interesting to make it more efficient, like the routes and everything that comes with it. So, very important and interesting thing, because once we start doing that, we can work on our operational efficiency. Process optimization. Sorry, it goes off all the time. Process optimization, and then actually have 360 degrees operational control. Because if you consolidate all your system into one environment, it becomes so much clearer what the actual operation is doing, from the actual resource until the production, distribution, logistics, until it comes in the retail and a consumer actual buying the product. This brings us to innovative excellence. So just to give you some ideas which we've created, and I put a QR there, you can scan it, because this is an example of a digital product passport. So every product we can identify. We can identify it with QR, we can identify it with a barcode, but also with NFC chips. So you can scan it, it will pop, the information will come up. And actually, I will show it on the big screen as well. This is an example of the digital product passport. And it shows where it's being farmed, the ID, from which batch number. I can see the farming process, the bottom production, but also between farming and production, there was a transaction. So I can identify the actual transaction. Obviously, you don't want to see the actual value and the amount that was being transacted, but you can hash the data with a unique code, so at least it's verifiable. And from production until the retail, until someone actually buying the product. Because if you can create a unique profile for every product, we can also start thinking about connecting those profiles to our personal selves. I will tell you in a bit more about it. So this is an example of a digital product passport. Another thing that we have done is a fair trade verification. Obviously, in the agriculture, there's a lot going on in terms of sustainability, but also in terms of farmers being paid fairly or not. So what we've created is an environment. Again, you can scan it with your mobile, the QR, and then you will go to the actual interface, which shows that the actual farm, where the actual farmer comes from, which batch was bought, and then even seeing the invoice slip of what the farmer is being paid. So instead of putting a trademark saying we are fair trade, you can show it. You can show it on with real-time data. And we really believe that that will be the next thing. So not only saying that we're so green and so innovative and sustainable and doing fair business, but show it. Also, from this, I got an example to show you. So you can see where it's being, where the coffee is being produced, from which farmer it's being bought. As you can see, this is guy where the coffee was being bought, the entire process of the coffee. And then actually, you can also gather information about your own statistics. Because once you start creating profile of each product, it's getting very interesting. I think most of you already know about these customer loyalty programs. I have my Albertijn pass, and then I get discount. But what becomes more interesting, because for example, I use the Albertijn pass just for my discount. But what would be more interesting if I could see how much Coke I drink in a year, how much salads I ate in 2020. That would be very interesting to understand. And it's possible once you start connecting these products that you buy to your personal customer loyalty environments. So you can even enrich the data. So not only I can see the actual journey of the product, I can enrich data by putting my profile in the actual product as well. So I can, for example, have voting capabilities and saying, hey, this product was nice, but maybe you should make other tastes, or it was not really my taste. So I can get this information back to the company as well. And then there's another thing, which I call waste asset management. We all know about these plastic bottles that we need to return in return for money. Some of us are doing this very disciplined, but some of us don't. But once you can start seeing the actual waste asset that you have, you attach it to numbers, to a value. So you can really imagine, oh wait, I've bought so many plastic and I didn't return it, so I wasted this amount of money. So it incentivizes me next time to do it because I'm throwing away potential value. Other data enrichment will be operational metrics, seeing, understanding if my operation is being efficient, am I not working with too many people, is my process in the right way, how can I optimize these things? And then obviously compliances. These compliances, I can enrich my certificates, I can enrich the data with certificates, I can put these certificates on the product profile, on the product profile, etc. So from a global perspective, we can really progress on this idea of net zero. Because we're talking about net zero, which is a very specific number, but how do we get there? What is the calculation to get there? And what's the progress being made until now? So we need those global statistics, and we need to understand what the impact will be of the social economics. So connect the actual data with data. It's all about interconnecting. Actually, that is one of the things why internet works so great, because it's a network of networks. We get access to the entire internet because it's all connected. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't have full access to all the information out there. So that is the next important thing that we need to look at. Connecting software with software, connecting data with data, being able to make it transparently available. Because once we start doing that, we can utilize new technology even more. Well, because we're talking about AI. And AI is a great thing because it really can amplify us. It can help us to come to conclusions even faster, or come to advices, or come to whatever is needed. But there is still so many data that is not being gathered yet. For example, Do I know how many water is used to get to the certain amount of agriculture I'm using or creating? Do I know this? This is data we can still gather. Gather the energy that we're using, etc., etc. There's still so many data out there that we need to connect with things such as AI, and that can be done through Internet of Things. So a lot of new technologies that we can still explore. So basically I come to the end of my presentation. If you liked it, you can connect with me. I put another QR for my profile. And actually a funny thing, because this profile is a model of how the customer loyalty program works in our case. I mentioned connecting your personal profile with products. Well, this is one of the modules. We use it now as a business card, but as you can see, you can have my LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever. But yeah, this was my presentation. I hope you liked it. I see I have some minutes left, so I want to use this time for any questions you might have. Do I need a... Oh. Thank you. Yes.
Do you already have some working cases with companies in collaboration?
Yes. With one of the things that I have shown is Moj Coffee. Moj Coffee is a coffee, you can buy it in the Albertine. And this is like a coffee that is like fair trade. As I mentioned, they showing the actual invoice slip, which they're paying to the farmer. And you can see the entire journey of the production process. That is one of the cases. Another case that we're working on, because if you're looking at, for example, the hosting business, so it's a lot of works with a lot of servers. These servers use a lot of electricity. So what we do is measure these servers to understand if it works in the most optimal way. So you can, spare energy and such. So yes, we're using with a bunch of use cases, yes. So any other questions? Yes.
Sorry, I have another question since there's a bit space. Yes, how effective, maybe you haven't seen the evidence yet, but I'm curious how effective it is in driving behavior of consumers.
Yeah. So what we believe is that once you start becoming aware, you tend to change old habits. And it takes time to change old habits. But it starts with the awareness that something is not right. Because if I buy a product, for example, and I see it's being created in a company, and I cannot see who were involved in this production process, I might think like, is this really made in a fair way? Isn't this made by children? I cannot see this, because if I buy another product, I can see who was involved and who made it, and I can see the smiles on the faces. So, there's something there that drives my habits. That's what I'm seeing. Sir, over there had a question as well.
Thanks. Hi. I'm not sure how to ask this question. Is there any way to use the data to get behavioural change to show people how to lessen their consumption or change their consumption, so that, because sometimes you might put a sustainability factor in place, but then it just makes people feel good about buying and consuming shit.
Yeah.
Like a can of Coke's a can of Coke, right?
Yeah.
It's rubbish and we don't need it.
Yeah.
So, like, change your behaviour to drinking water, Is there any way to use the data, do you think, to drive behaviour change in that way?
I believe so, because if you start connecting data with other data, for example, I drink a lot of Coke, I drink 1,000 cans in a year. But if I connect this data of these 1,000 cans of Coke with my health data, and seeing that my health is going backwards, it's easy for me to conclude that I should drink less Coke.
You might not conclude that yourself, though.
No, the actual data connection will conclude it. So once we put also AI and everything on top of it, it will be concluded for us. And that should change, drive habits. But if not, then you know why the things are going wrong, right?
Coffee should definitely be excluded, though. We don't need to minimise that.
Yeah. All right. Again, thank you very much for having me. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a very pleasant event.